Hello, I'm James Holder. Welcome to another episode of the season so far. It's the turn of Manchester United, and I'm joined by Manchester United season ticket holders and avid fans, Abid and Usman. Great to have you both with me. What's happening, fellas? You all good?
Good, bro.
Yes. Good. Obviously, Man United got a couple of wins under their belt, so at the moment, it all smiles.
I was going to say, if we would have done this show about 3 or 4 weeks ago, I reckon it would have been completely different content, completely different outlook from the positivity and good vibes I'm feeling from both of you today. Initially, let's look at the players Manchester United recruited during the window. Big spending window for Manchester United. How would you assess individually each of those players? And I'm going to go initially with Abid on my initial question. What are you thinking about the window and the players that are brought in?
Okay, looking at the players themselves that we brought in, I feel like Martinez was getting slated from day one, and especially from my friends, they're like, "Oh, he's a little midget." But from day one, I said, give him time and put him next to Varane and not the fridge. He will actually perform how he's a world-class centre-back. Like, he is. Like, he has the ability to push on.
World class. A bit early for that one.
I don't even care. This one, this is the only one I'll defend to a certain degree. I have a City fan here as well, so he might start shouting at me. But I think he's a very, very good centre back, and all he can do is just improve.
I've got to hold my hands up. When he was first recruited, I thought his height would be a major factor. In the first game or so, as you would expect, he got exposed a little bit. But since then, he's been very solid. He's technically a very good player, as you would expect from a player of his calibre. Usman, how do you rank the signings? Anthony as well, I'm guessing, has been a bit of a revelation so far. How would you rate them?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the players that we currently signed, they kind of just getting their feet wet in terms of they're just dipping their toes into the water, so to speak. Obviously, Casemiro being a marquee sign, so to speak. You mentioned Anthony there, both of which really haven't shown us what they're capable of so far. Of course, Anthony did get that goal against Arsenal, but that aside, he was somewhat anonymous in that game for large periods. And so far, he hasn't really shown what he's about to the extent that I'd expect. Casemiro, for me, again, he looks like he's still getting up to pace, which is completely fine. Luckily for us at the moment, Scott McTominay is doing really well, which isn't something we've said recently, throughout his entire tenure at Man United, to be honest. So it's come at a good time that he's on form. But the person, obviously, alongside Martinez, that's really impressed me has been Eriksen. I think Eriksen, for me, is extremely integral in everything good going forward for Manchester United. I mean, one of our major issues when McFred, starting or have started last season was our ability to transition from defence to attack. That link between defence and attack is something extremely important in football. And Eriksen has shown in the past at Spurs, Inter Milan, and obviously even at Brentford as well when he was there last season, that he's got the capabilities of dictating play. And so far we've seen that at United. Of course, it's extremely early days and we don't know how he's going to fare with the fixture congestion, so to speak. But he's been a breath of fresh air in that deep line midfield role. So I think for me, Eriksen's been the one out of our signings so far who's shone the most.
I think you're bang on. For the budget you got Eriksen on as well, he's been a revelation. I think you're bang on there. How do you think Casemiro's done, considering the messing about you had with your top target, De Jong, over the summer? I think it was like 4 months you were trying to entice him. You've gone for Casemiro. How do you think he's settled so far in the Prem? I'm going to go to Abid on this one.
I think, one, he's not fit into the system yet, which will come later down the line, definitely, because he's just that type of player. But two, I'm not really happy about it, but McTominay is playing good, so you can't really take a player that's playing good out of the team. So McTominay's probably thought, I need to get playing, and this guy's going to come in the team, and I'm not going to play for the next year, 2 years. So it's a breath of fresh air to see McTominay actually playing all right. But I feel Casemiro's time will come. I don't know if it will be against City, but I think soon Casemiro will play for United regularly.
Ten Hag's made some big calls and big decisions since he's come in as manager. Dropping club captain Harry Maguire, benching club legend Cristiano Ronaldo. These are the sort of calls that if a manager gets wrong can really end his tenure. Brave decisions. Do you think with hindsight he's right in the decisions that he's made, and do you back him so far with the calls that he's made for the club?
Well, obviously,
Go on.
you know, in terms of hindsight, look, we're talking 7 games into the season in terms of the Premier League, so I don't think we can necessarily say that those decisions are, you know, factual in terms of correct. It's looking very promising so far, in particular with the Maguire situation. I believe every game Maguire started this season, we've lost, and every game he's been on the bench, we've won literally 50, like no draws, nothing, literally just lost or win with his involvement, without his involvement. So that one is looking like a fantastic decision so far, but I think it's too early to say. You know, with most things, with managers, you live and die by the sword. I mean, in a couple of weeks' time, if Martinez or Varane was to make a couple of mistakes, then people will start questioning Ten Hag and saying, "Oh, well, he's made the wrong decision." You know, obviously to remove Maguire, so to speak. But in terms of the Ronaldo one, for me personally, I think that one was extremely important as well. First and foremost, Ronaldo didn't have the pre-season. Obviously, you know, for many different reasons. We don't need to go into that right now. But I think the way Ten Hag has dealt with that situation is extremely positive, because at the end of the day, it would have been very easy for him to just put Ronaldo in the team because of the person he is. I think with the Maguire thing, although that was a big call as well, I think it was a bit easier given the performance against Brentford. He kind of, you know, made his own bed, so to speak. But with Ronaldo, to not put Ronaldo in the team, I think that takes a lot of cojones, and no, fair play to him. At the end of the day, he's not just dropped him in at any given opportunity. He's bedded him in, and he's making Ronaldo fight for his spot. Unfortunately, Rashford's got injured now, which is it's kind of put Ronaldo in that position without Ten Hag really wanting him. But you know, time will tell in terms of hindsight. But so far, the calls he's made, everything's been spot on so far.
Man United seem to lack that disciplinarian approach. Ten Hag seems very strict. Do you think he's won the dressing room over with his approach to training, to games? Abid, what do you think?
I think at the moment it's still early doors, like Osman said. It's only 7 games in, but I think he's slowly embedding his style and what he wants with the players obviously into United, because it's been missing for over 10 years. We're talking since Ferguson had everyone on lock, and it was a good structure. But this is where it starts. It's obviously, we know about the problems from the board. To have the manager trying to get Man United back to where they should be is the start. So I feel like he's doing a good job at the moment. You can see if a player is playing bad or a player is playing good, he will come out after the game and he will say they played good. He will not lie. Like, for example, the Brentford game. I think he did an interview with Neville and Carragher, and they said, "Oh, why did you take Martinez off at half time?" And he's like, "I could have taken them all off. They were all awful." It doesn't matter about. He doesn't lie to the press to try and win over the press. He just wants to do his job and get Man United back to where they are.
Do you think things have calmed down now between the fans and the Glazers?
No.
I obviously, myself and I've been a both season ticket holders, so I feel like we could probably, you know, comment on the mic. I think for me that it's very much alive within the stadium. Obviously, you see before the games, the last couple of games I've been to anyways, there's been a protest prior to the game, and I think that's really transcended with the players. I feel like that atmosphere that has been created with the Glazers Out movement has really helped the players on the pitch, because you sense that energy. Obviously, I know, you know, with the Arsenal game and the Liverpool game in particular, for me, was the best atmosphere I've experienced in a very long time at Old Trafford. So I think the fans are very much still singing Glazers Out. I believe in our last game, in the Europa League away from home, you know, it was quite apparent, you know, via watching on BT, so to speak, they could hear the chants as well. And I don't think it's died to the extent that people are making it out, but also do feel like there is more that we can do, and we've got to keep the pressure on them, because at the end of the day, as Abid said, unless we change the people above, the long term, it's not really going to have any fixes, because at the moment, Ten Hag's doing well, but we know what's going to happen in a year's time. It's going to be the same old cycle that always happens.
Given the fact that other than Chelsea, Manchester United have been pretty much the biggest spenders in the window, they've backed the manager. Is it fair to label such criticism week in, week out at the board, at the Glazers?
Well, for me personally, a lot of rival fans always go on about, Man United spent, for example, let's use Anthony as a scenario. We spent X amount of money on Anthony. Why are Man United fans complaining? The reason Man United fans complain about the Glazers, well, there's a multitude of reasons, but the main reason being is the Glazers haven't spent any of their money. It's not the Glazers' money. This is the money earned by the club, through whatever means that they have to bring in revenue. It's got nothing to do with the Glazers. The Glazers haven't put a single penny of their own money in. And also the Glazers have constantly, rebutted us moving from a new stadium. Our stadium's been leaking. Literally, there was a video on social media literally 2 weeks ago where the stadium was leaking again inside. And it's just little things like that. And, for me, look at our training facilities and look at other clubs' training facilities. Even Leicester's got better facilities than us. Obviously, the Maguire money helped them in that case. But it's just too many issues with the Glazers. I just don't think, it's as easy as saying, they've spent 220 million this summer. They've not spent a single penny. If you look at if you look at the statistics, the Glazers aren't even in the top 20 for money spent for any owners. They haven't even spent a quid of their own money. So for me, the quicker they get out, the better. It's just delaying the inevitable, which is the reoccurring cycle that may not going to eventually falter under the new management. He'll get sacked, everyone will blame the manager, and the Glazers will get away with it.
Are people really bothered about the training ground, about leaky roofs? Isn't it not the preference?
It makes a difference, though.
Take winning things over these things sort of being fixed.
It makes a difference because if you're, for example, if you're a player, you want the best environment possible. And it's just little things that can lead up to a mental victory over something else. Like even Sheffield Wednesday's training ground, they're developing a new training ground. It looks dirty. I've seen it when I'm driving past. Even their training ground looks good. Why is arguably the biggest club in England, why are they not trying to upgrade their facilities? Because surely the Glazers, they are running Man United as if it's a commercial club. You'd think they want to make Old Trafford bigger and better to get more people to come. But they're too stingy and they take out dividends every year end and decide to take the money out that way instead of putting it back into the club.
Do you think the protests will get bigger? The Glazer out movement will grow, dependent on, I guess, form and results this season?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I think if we're playing good, it's going to slowly die down. However, there'll still be that core group that still want Glazers out. I'll stand by it. I will not change my opinion on the board, even though they spent money, but they spent the money because people called for them to leave. They didn't spend the money because they wanted to. They spent it because that's why the Casemiro deal was done so quickly. I had no idea. Like, I'll be honest, it was done in a day. I had no idea how quick it was going to happen because I thought, it's just paper talking. But it was done so quickly due to a reaction of the fans not being happy. That's why. So it's not a case of, okay, let's get them this player. They'll love it. And no, oh shit, we're in the dumps here. We need to get back at them. Like, try and work out the equilibrium again. They're just not really football owners. They're more businessmen.
Don't you think it could be perceived as a tad ungrateful, though, the fact that they are spending such big money? Then you've got teams like Leicester, for instance, that have bare minimum recruitment. They may have a better training ground than you, as you pointed out, but in terms of actual investment on the pitch.
But we're talking about the biggest club in England. Like, we should be up there winning Premier League. So it's not. Yes, ungrateful is probably a word you can use because I think we spent over 1.1 billion in the last, I think, 10, 12 years, which is abysmal. But it's who and how and by what means you're spending the money on. Man United, regardless, they should be, I'm not saying right now this team should be, but in general, Man United should be challenging for titles and getting to far end of Champions League, not Europa League. They should be. But due to this board and the last 10 years of some Arab money being blown into the other side of Manchester, that's not the case anymore. So the word ungrateful it's a bit of a pill to swallow, but it's true. It is true, but we've had to suffer silently for the last 10 years whilst the noisy neighbours just get bigger and bigger and bigger.
James, just to add to that as well, I think for me personally, Real fans will say we're ungrateful. You used the Leicester example. The owners are trying to get rid of it. They're trying to sell Leicester because they can't they don't feel like they can take the club any further in terms of, financially, quite clearly they're struggling, just mentioned, for the lack of business. But in terms of Man United, as I just said, they haven't put any of their own money into the club. They take dividends out. If anything, we're in minus because of them as well. We're in debt currently because of the situation with the Glazers, how they bought the club. But also, if you look at the last 10 years since Sir Alex Ferguson left, we've been nothing but a failure. And at the end of the day, if you're not doing your job to a sufficient standard, you need to pay the consequences. Manchester United is a club enriched with winning trophies and competing at the highest level. And how have we done that in the last 10 years? We've been an absolute embarrassment. Yes, we spent the money, but it's been in the wrong places. They've got people in high positions who are absolutely clueless. There's no structure. There's no director of football. There's no one who, to call the shots who is actually a football person. We finally got someone in Ralph Rangnick who had the right intentions of bringing the club from the ashes back to where it belongs, and they removed him because he was too outspoken and he shot from the hip. And at the end of the day, the Glazers do not want the club to be successful. They want to milk it for as much as they possibly can. And they do not want to put the people in the right places for the club to have the right structure. For example, Ed Woodward, he was an absolute travesty. Time after time, eventually he got removed and they replaced him with another yes man in Arnold and Murta, who were also not football people. So for me, any club that is successful, if you look around Europe, they've all got a sporting director that knows what they're doing. You look at Ajax, they're one of the best, they're extremely well run as a club, and consistently they have success, as do Bayern Munich, as do other clubs. As Abid said, we signed Casemiro not because we were proactive, but we were reactive to the situation outside the club, i.e. the fans protesting consistently. Any owners do not spend 4 months chasing a player, drop that player, and then in one day go, okay, we'll sign Casemiro to shut the fans up. And for me personally, it's the same thing that happens every single season. It's not a surprise to myself or any other Manchester United fan. There's a reason why 100% of the United fan base want Glazers out. It's not 50-50. It's something we actually all agree on.
The best place you've had recently is runners-up. With Ten Hag in or at the helm now, do you think he's capable, Manchester United are capable of closing the gap on Manchester City and Liverpool? I'm not even going to go as far as to say of mounting the title challenge, but closing the gap on those two teams.
Closing the gap on Man City seems extremely difficult at the moment. Of course, Man City are run properly. They run as a football club. They're not run as a business. They're not run for any other purpose but to be successful on the pitch. And to close those gaps is extremely hard because you're almost playing with one hand tied behind your back. As I mentioned, we've got people in higher ups that do not care about the success. All they care about is commercial revenue and obviously getting the best sponsorship deals. In terms of Liverpool, at the moment they seem quite fragile, obviously with their situation and their owners with FSG. They didn't give their manager central midfield as well, so they're kind of in a similar situation where their manager, unlike Manchester United, their managers and their board don't actually back their manager at all to that extent. So I do think it's capable that we can close the ground on Liverpool. It's an aging squad as well. But in terms of Man City, I think they're very close to making it a Farmers League. It seems inevitable that they're going to win the league again, which would be 6-5. I think if I'm not mistaken. So I think it's going to take a long while to close that gap on Man City. But I think Liverpool, they're currently in a bit of a period where they're going to have to replace a lot of the senior players who are the most important. So we could potentially close that gap, but Man City are too far ahead at the moment.
Just touching on the point that you made earlier, Usman, if they do again, for somewhat it goes wrong, Ten Hag leaves, you've got that rebuilding process again. Is it a worry for you that the club maybe haven't got that long-term vision to back Ten Hag, to see it out through the darker days before the good times start rolling in?
I think that's a concern with any football club. I think a lot of, for example, with Chelsea and Tuchel's situation, that was his first real lull period since he's taken over. I think he's obviously had hard periods, so to speak, as a Chelsea manager, but the new owner came in and got rid of him. They had a new vision. The thing with Man United, as you just said, we don't have a vision. We don't have a clear identity. We don't have a clear way of doing things. So it's very much make you up as you go along. So you can't really predetermine the situation with Ten Hag. It really does come down to the social media noise we've seen with previous managers, where the sort of turn on the manager. The club tend to go with the majority in terms of the fan base, in terms of engagement, so to speak. But For me personally, it comes down to the director of football. I mean, if they're bringing a director of football that is willing to work alongside Ten Hag and actually someone that knows what they're doing, then we'll start to take the Glazers seriously. Then we'll start to think, oh, what, they do have the intentions of moving forward. But until they make that step, it's really hard to assess what they're trying to do at Manchester United, apart from hoping a manager comes good, similar to how other managers have come in and changed the fortunes. I suppose Pochettino would be one of the better examples. You know, he came in and really lifted Spurs from being, you know, under that sort of bracket of a decent club into regularly competing with the better teams in the league. And a lot of people start to take notice of Spurs due to Pochettino. And I feel like they're trying to do that with potentially Ten Hag or whichever manager it is. They're just hoping to roll the dice, you know, and the land on the colour that they put the money on. So, yeah, for me, there's absolutely no plan. It's just hit and hope, so to speak.
Where do Manchester United finish this season, Abid? Where do you see them finishing up when everything's said and done and the 38 games are played?
Remember what I said before in the last video I did? I said sixth, didn't it? But I said as well to the other Arsenal fan as well. I said, depending on our signings, we could sneak into top 4.
Has that changed, bearing in mind the window?
Nah, I'd say not sixth, but I'd say there's more chance of sneaking into top 4. I'd say, okay, people are going to say, oh, you're getting gassed. You see 3 games. But he needs more time. And I think my final calling card will be just before the World Cup. And that's when I'll say top 4. However, I don't think right now, I think 5th is more reasonable. But because I'm still a bit younger now, I like to dream. So top four would be unbelievable, because I don't think at the expense of, I think Spurs and Arsenal are very strong. I think Chelsea will have to see. But my problem with Chelsea is, if Thiago Silva is older than the manager, how is he going to tell Thiago Silva off? That's what I'm thinking. I just think there's going to be a bit of a power struggle there. I said this from the start of the season, though. Liverpool is just a bit fragile, as Usman said. I think Usman didn't even give it justice.
Got a lot of frailties going on, a lot of age.
Yeah, there's big problems there. I was having a chat with my mate earlier. He said Van Dijk is average. Van Dijk has been average this season. Not my words.
Let Sadio Mane, in my opinion, let Sadio Mane go was a
big mistake.
Big mistake.
That's why I think Tottenham, Arsenal, top 4 secured there for them too. I think they'll be all right. I think that 4th spot is for Chelsea, United, and Liverpool. I know that's people.
Wow.
I know even you're saying that.
I don't agree. I
know you don't agree, but I think that 4th spot is there for Chelsea, United, or Liverpool.
So you're going to stick with your prediction, maybe 6th, but maybe still in the top 4.
No, I say 5th or 4th.
Okay, Usman, what are you thinking?
I mean, firstly, I don't agree with what Abid said on the Liverpool comment. I mean, I'm obviously a bit of a United fan, so I'm not going to defend Liverpool, but I just think it's extremely short-sighted to just completely write them off and assume that Spurs are better than Liverpool. I think Spurs have been absolutely shocking this season. I know, that's, a lot of people would say that's a testament that they've still got points on the board and they've not hit top gear, and I understand that sentiment. But every game I've seen of Spurs this season, be it Champions League, be it the league, they've been extremely uninspiring. Granted, Son hasn't hit the heights, so I know he bagged a hat-trick on his last week. So potentially with the flurry of Son's goals in the next coming weeks, they might see a better version of Spurs. But for me, I don't think it's a foregone conclusion that Spurs and Arsenal get into the top 4. I do think Chelsea are the team currently that look the most fragile in terms of, where they are as a team, mainly because of our new manager. They don't look like they're really gelling as players. He's got a lot of question marks he needs to solve, similar to Ten Hag with the United team. The only issue is Ten Hag's had a bit more time with the squad, so he probably has more answers and questions, unlike Potter at the moment. So I think we'd probably be above Chelsea on that merit. But for me, I've got to be honest, I know it's not going to be a popular opinion here, but I still have question marks over Arsenal. I know a lot of people are singing their praises. Obviously, I know James, you're an Arsenal fan as well, but I just think, for me personally, I just don't think Arsenal have got the depth.
Mate, we've got question marks over Arsenal. Don't worry about that.
No. I think Arsenal have been absolutely fantastic this season, and they're playing brilliant football. There's no denying that. I mean, if you deny that, you're a hater, and I'm not here to do that. But I just think for me, they haven't got the squad for it. That's the honest truth. I mean, they're more than capable of getting the top 4, don't get me wrong. But I think there's going to be a couple of situations where they get a couple of injuries to key players. Obviously, I don't wish injury upon anyone, but hypothetically, Gabriel Jesus in particular, if he was to get injured, your backups Nketiah, part is to get injured, your backups Lokonga, that's 2 injuries and you're already up to Nketiah and Lokonga starting week in, week out. I just feel like you're a couple of players short of being a really good team. And credit to Arteta, I've criticised them a lot, but for me, I still don't trust Arsenal with the squad that they've currently got. On the day, they can beat anyone quite clearly, but I think Arsenal, Spurs, and Man United are all question marks, all for different reasons. Man United because of Ten Hag needs to still settle in, Arsenal because of lack of squad depth, and Spurs because, quite frankly, they haven't been impressive so far. You know, it's very early doors to say that them two are going to be guaranteed. I still think it'll be a battle between the 3 of us to get that top 4 spot. I do think Liverpool and Man City will still be in there, and I think the other 2 teams will either be one of them 3. I don't think Chelsea with Graham Potter will be in the conversation, only because he's got a lot of work to do prior to obviously starting to kick on, so to speak. So I'll probably put us 5th, just to answer your question, just because I feel like I don't want to sell the fans. I'll probably put us 5th only because Ten Hag's new, but I don't think it's a foregone conclusion that Arsenal and Spurs are in there.
If Arsenal do pick up any injuries, we can always bring a few players from our under-12s in. So I'm sure that'll be all right.
I'm saying 4th. Forget 5th. I'm saying 4th. I'm stick by 4th as well.
Sticking 4th.
That's it. I'm sticking with 4th.
Fair enough, man.
I'm sticking with 4th.
Let's see how this plays out. Lads, I've got to say, it's been fantastic to have you on the show. I know you'll both be at the Manchester United Man City game. It's at the Etihad. So I think that's the next game after the international break. International break is good and bad, isn't it? It's good and bad.
It's awful. I don't even want to. It's awful.
It's absolutely shocking. I don't know any football fan that guys it. Like, who
James is shocking.
I'm happy there's football on of some sort, and it's international. I'd rather the Premier League was obviously firing away.
Nah, I mean, I don't even know who's playing. Apparently, Scotland are playing at the moment. I haven't got a clue. I couldn't tell you. But it's just boring. I know England have got Italy, but like, who actually cares? Do you know what I mean?
Italy,
He's got like 4 right backs.
Yeah, it's the right back.
I mean,
overload.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying Southgate's taken 4 right backs. I mean, no one cares. Like, do you know what I mean? It's just completely dead. It's boring. There's no emotion towards it. Obviously, the competitions are phenomenal, but in terms of everything else in between, it's just needless to say the least.
We've not played in 3 weeks, you know, so that's a problem. That's a big problem. That's a big problem. For the
getting the excuses in earlier, but I like it. Good lads.
Especially against City. Mohamed, City, you're going to lose, mate.
The problem is,
if Martinez pockets Haaland, I'm just going to be buzzing because that 5'9" height.
No, he's done it before. He's done it before.
I was just about to say, he's already done it before for Ajax. He'll do it again.
He's done it before.
Exactly. Going to stop the run. Don't worry, lads. You heard it here first.
James, you're going to ask our predictions for City game?
Yeah, give us your prediction for the City game at the Etihad.
2-1 or 1-0 United. Oh, yeah, sure. My City friend is about to come pick up his knife and start thinks I'm stupid.
What are you saying, Usman?
Go on. No, I'm gonna say 2-1 United only because City's high line is absolutely diabolical. So I'm hoping Rashford is fit. If Rashford's fit, we've got a chance.
That's what I said.
This might sound like a cop-out comment. I'm not trying to sell the fence here. Rashford is the key for us to beat them. Basically, high line, pace, and pass, similar to what we did against Liverpool, really. If he's not fit, then I'd probably say they're probably going to beat us. I'm not going to lie.
Even Martial.
That's cold.
If Martial and Rashford are fit, then yeah, I'll be confident. But yeah, I'll have to win.
So I think the front 3 for that game is going to be the fastest players. It should have.
Yeah, just pace abuse.
Alanga, Anthony, Rashford, or Martial. I don't rate Alanga, but for pace, Alanga's there. I think that one is just the. You know,
terrorized Liverpool, didn't it?
FIFA, when you press triangle, the L1 is that one. That's what.
Yeah, just through ball over the back line and just run on.
Not even looking. We're not even looking.
Nothing fancy, man. Just whip it around corner. Eriksen just keep whipping it into space. Hopefully Rashford latches onto it. We'll get 1 out of 50. It'll be right.
Yeah.
So, gentlemen, it's been very, very nice to have your company. Thank you very much for appearing on the show. And I look forward to catching you up as the season progresses. Thank you very much, Usman. Thank you.
Cheers for having us.
Cheers, bro. Cheers, boys.
Soon.